Hi everyone, it's Lynda from LyndaCreates, and this is part 2 of my Japanese rice bag, the Komebukuro bag, Japanese rice bag. And on part 1 you saw me assemble and stitch this. It's all hand stitched together. You can't see it because the lining's there, but all of these seams I did by hand. So this is the front part. This is going to be the fabric for the bottom of the bag. But now on part 2, I am starting the inside lining part, which is going to work with this. But let me show you the pieces that I've cut. This is 6.5 inches square, and this is 6.5 inches square. This one is going to be for the inside lining, and this is going to be for the outside of the actual bag when it's finished. So you need 2 of those, and you need 1 at the interfacing, just 1. Okay. Also for the lining, you need a piece, and I've already pinned this together, but 24.5 inches long. So I have it folded, but 24.5 inches long by 8 inches tall. And this is going to be the inside of the bag, so the lining. So I just happen to have it matching. You don't have to. You could use whatever you have, but that goes with that. I also have a piece that is 10.5 inches wide by 4 inches high, and this is going to be the tabs or the strap, or where the straps hold the bag closed. So you need just 1 piece of these. We're going to cut it up after we do that. What else do we need? There were the pieces that I used in here. I plan to add 1 more patch to this. So I'll give you all the dimensions of this that I needed to make this whole piece, but it ends up being the same as the lining, so 24.5 inches by 8 inches. And you could do the lining in a patchwork as well, so that it's reversible. That would be nice too. Okay, so I have the lining or the interfacing attached to the patchwork side because I was doing all of the stitching. Okay, so I have that, I have that, I have this with the basting stitch around the edge. So now on this inside piece, I'm stitching the seams together along here. I have a 3-inch opening that I'm going to be leaving so that it could turn. Right sides are together. I'm going to hand stitch this seam closed. I have the bottom of this lining has the interfacing already tacked down. Normally you could just machine sew a 1/4 inch hem, but because this whole piece is all hand stitched, I am just using a needle and thread and finishing off that seam. So this is the 3-inch mark, and I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm doing a running stitch, but I'm doing it a running stitch forward and then a running stitch back so that all of the gaps will be filled in. So when you're sewing a running stitch, you're on the front and back as you're stitching, so visually there are gaps, but when you come back on it, you can fill in all of those gaps. Okay, so this is the 3-inch mark right there, and what I want to do is do a few back stitches to make sure and hold this, because it's going to take a lot of pressure when I turn the fabric. Okay, so I have that And what I need to do is press this open. That just makes it easier when you turn it, that this is already pressed open. So now what I'm going to do is sew this together, the two short ends together. So now what I need is a 1/4 inch seam. Now the thing is too, if you're doing this by machine, you don't need to mark any of this. The machine, you just follow the guides. But since I'm hand sewing this together, I'm just to make sure it all comes out correctly, I'm measuring it, I'm drawing it. I'm just going to do a running stitch and then turn around and come back. Kind of interesting. I haven't done a sewing project like this where I've done everything by hand. And you could see the running stitch, and it's like the Kanase stitching. It's up, down, up, down. So when you come back on the other direction, you just fill in all those gaps. So I finished sewing this seam on the outer part of the bag. So let me turn it. This is kind of like the first look that we'll see of it, kind of finished. Okay, so now I'm working on the lining part. This is the bottom. I'm basically just going to fold it in half like that and find the middle here. Actually, I can mark it with the pen since I have the lining on it and it shows up very clearly. So I have it on that side. Okay, and I have it on this side. So now, so I don't that, I'm going to take the bag, and this is the inside lining part with the 3-inch opening right here. Now, with the right sides together, and I'm just going to do it. So I just pinned it where there is the center of one of the sides. And now with the right sides together, so right side and right side, I'm taking that seam and I'm going to pin it together. And now I can slowly work my way around. The trick is to pin it, align it and pin it without stretching it. And then when you get to the corner, you don't want to pin all the way to the edge. You want to come in 1/4 inch, because that's going to be the corner right there. And now you're going to turn it because you're going in this direction. And this is actually where, if you're hand sewing this, you could ease all of the turns real easily. Angle, last pivot, and boy. And now we come back to right where we started. So I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch that closed. I'm going to mark on this side the 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to do the same running stitch, complete running stitch both directions, so the stitching will be the same. It's just I'm doing this marking so that I know I'm doing it at exactly a 1/4 of an inch. And actually, now that I'm looking at it this way, you could do all this marking on the interfacing before you even pin it. That would make it super easy. So I have all of this seam, the bottom sewn onto it. And so now you could see the lining from the inside. So now I'm going to repeat the same thing with the outside part. So I'm going to turn this, and this, I'm not sure about the right side on this one. It looks fairly even, so I'm going to just call that the right side. And the other thing I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to mark the 1/4 inch so to help make it a little more accurate. On the bottom piece, I also marked the center of each side. I just folded it in half and then marked it. And then on the bottom part of this piece, the outer part, I folded it, keeping the seam to one side, and marked. And then I folded it, I flattened it, and put this middle seam together with, or the middle mark together with that part, and drew a little mark here and here to show the other centers. And now, making sure I'm working along the bottom, I can go ahead and start pinning it. And this is, let me do it. This is going to be a little trickier because I've done a lot of stitching on the front side, so if there's any, you could see it kind of wrinkled here, so that takes up some of the width of it. I want to pin the seam open. Okay. So now I'm just going to do a rough pinning because I want to make sure this center right there, so my mark is right there, comes out to the center right there. That's good. And this will just help it align as you go. Just gonna keep going around. I just want to make sure everything aligns, because this is, you want the corners, you want it to just be enough fabric to go around. So okay, now I could put some pins in between here, so that should really help keep it in shape as you go around. So I just need to make the outer fabric match up with the corners. Everything is pinned squarely, and I could go ahead and start stitching. So I've stitched up the bottom all the way around and got all the corners and everything. So I'm turning it right side out right now because I've had an idea of one more thing I wanted to add before I close it up with the lining. So roughly, let me show you. Okay, so this is one side. This is another. I love how that one looks. I love how that one looks. And this one, although it has the patches or it has angles, I thought it needed a little more something because this one has that nice cantha stitching. So I was thinking what I might do is stitch a piece, a patch on that wraps around the bottom and partially up one side. So maybe like that, just to add a little more interest. That's kind of interesting because there's very little curves on this piece. So maybe that's what it needs. And then stitch it so that it also goes around to the bottom. So if I do that, it'll look like that. Add a little interest to the bottom as well. Okay, I'm going to do go back to doing some cantha stitching to hold that in place. So here's the patch on this panel that goes down to the bottom as well. I like how that looks. So, okay, on to the next step. So this piece is 4 inches by 10.5 inches. So now what I want to do, and I have right sides together. Kind of hard to tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side, but that's what I have together. Now I'm going to sew along this edge. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it inside out, or right side out, I guess I should say. Okay, so I have this piece turned right side out, and I finger pressed it. You could pull out an iron and do it that way, but I'm just going to finger press it. And now I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to cut it. And then each of these pieces I'm going to fold in half again. And cut that again. And now what I want to do is a nice little top stitch, so it could be a running stitch. So all I'm going to do is a rather small running stitch along the edge, both sides, longer sides of these, and it's about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. It's part of it is a nice finish, but also it keeps everything laying flat. I have all of these tabs stitched together and the top stitching on the sides so that it's nice and flat. You take these and you fold it in half. Okay, and I've already pinned these, so wherever there's a seam here, you want to center the tab on it and pin it. You have the seam here, tab there, and then you have another seam here and a tab there. Now the fourth one, really simple, is you put the 2 tabs, or you line it up like that, and then where there is no seam, you have the halfway mark right there. So you could find the halfway mark right there. Fold this with the prettier side out, if there is one. And center it just like that. And if you want to check it, you could just kind of pull it, and that these 2 line up. And then if you pull it this way, those 2 line up here. But I need to have all of the pins facing upwards, because what we're going to do now is put, okay, so the right side, okay, let me show. So the right side of the fabric is on the inside of the lining, and on this part, the right side of the fabric is on the outside. So now we're going to put this inside here and line it up. The main thing is to line up this seam, and now you want to work your way around, but you want to make sure first off that you have the tabs pinned in place, because you don't want them going somewhere else, moving about. So this is a little bit better angle for you to see. Okay, so I have the first one pinned. I need to make sure everything's flush or flat on the bottom. And a little holding pin there. So now, okay, so now I can go around. Okay, so I'm pinning it from the inside. So now, final check, I'm going to go along on the outside, and you can see my outside fabric is a little low in some places. Okay, and again, because this is going to be hand sewn, I could also do another check as I go around. I can go ahead and start sewing. So what I'm going to do is a few stitches back and forth, and all of these stitches are going to be hidden inside. Okay, so I'm going to sew from the inside because I can see where my stitches are going. I'm going to do a running stitch and come back and do a reverse running stitch so that it ends up looking like a solid stitch. So I'm just going to keep doing this. So I have the top edge all stitched up, and I did extra back stitching to hold the where the tabs are. I can actually pull out my running stitch, the white one that I had going. Just get that out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it. So, if you remember, we left that little 3-inch opening somewhere. Oh, it was in the lining. We left the little 3-inch opening right here in the lining. So this is where everything is going to reverse through. So this part is almost magical, I always thought. Okay, so now you have this big giant thing, but actually the lining goes down inside. Okay, so you have the lining facing right side, you have the outside, and we need to find that opening again. Oh, there it is. We're going to stitch, blind stitch this closed. This is the opening that we just turned through. So we're going to stitch that closed. Okay, let's do it right-handed again. So I have the bag all done. Everything is sewn up and it's ready to go. I have 2 pieces of cording, and it's just regular cotton cording. You get it from Walmart or something like that in the hardware department. And I cut 2 pieces, and I'm going to lace it through here. Okay. So in this case, I have a little bit of fraying on the end. So it's just going to cut that off. Now what you can do down here, this was the original end, so it looks like they put some hot glue. So you can do that. Okay, so I'm pulling 2 ends together, and I'm going to tie a knot. And I'll come back in with the hot glue on that edge when I'm done. Okay, so I'm just doing that as a knot. Now, what I'm doing also is from this side, I'm going to do the same thing in reverse. Okay, so I have 2 going in that direction and 2 going in this direction. Okay, so I have 2 clean ends. And again, I highly suggest coming back in. Final touch is doing a little bit of hot glue on it. Okay. So now I have 2 ties to pull. One got shorter than the other. So now pull it together, and you could see how much you have to remove. That's only because we had that fraying on that end. So it should be okay. Now what you could do is actually tie it. Don't cut it off yet. Tie it the knot, and you could see how much to get it even. There. Okay. So now the strings are the same length. The bag has enough stability to stay upright. And I think what I love about these bags is that they are technically a circle on a square. So the outer part of the bag is just a circle, right? Just like that. But you stitched on a square on the bottom, so it's a blending of circles and squares. And it's so easy. This one is, I'm really thrilled because it is all hand stitched. Everything about it is hand sewn. So that is so exciting. This is my Japanese rice bag, the Komebukuro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the Japanese rice offering bag. And it is just, it has been so much fun. I'm going to link a video to where I explain where I thrifted the Japanese fabrics and share that little video. And just, I mean, this has been so much fun. And I could see making more of these just to embellish around. I think it would be a wonderful little project. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you make your own bags like this. It is so much fun. I mean, I was able to use some of my mom's vintage fabric and then some Japanese thrifted fabrics. So please check out my website at LyndaCreates.com. That's Lynda with the Y, to see more projects. And check out my other YouTube video where I show how I thrifted this fabric and where it came from. So thanks again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!